Hi guys, and welcome to Bikes and Laces, the running and cycling YouTube channel. So I was coming up with a few ideas for today's video. I've been at work today, and because I work desk job, really small team, and it's usually pretty quiet, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and so here are 5 of my favourite cycling podcasts that I think you should listen to too. The Cycling Podcast is the leading journalistic example on our list today, and perhaps across all the available podcasts on the various platforms. Launched in 2013 and producing weekly episodes of their cycling podcast, the team is headed up by Lionel Birnie, Daniel Freeb and Richard Moore, who are all well-respected cycling journalists and authors. Birnie ghostwrote Sean Kelly's autobiography Hunger, as well as regular features in Cycling Weekly. Freeb is the features editor of Pro Cycling magazine and will be familiar to viewers of the Tour de France, as he is one of the leading interviewers of that particular day's stage winner or the yellow jersey, usually in their native language. And Richard Moore is a former road cyclist and author of the award-winning In Search of Robert Miller and Slaying the Badger. The three of them are also owners of the Cycling Podcast Limited, allowing them to retain their independence, though they regularly have title sponsors for their shows. The Cycling Podcast is unlike some of the other podcasts in this list, as it is an umbrella for many other podcasts under the Cycling Podcast brand. Alongside their weekly podcast, they have the Cycling Podcast Féminin, a monthly special dedicated to women's cycling, Kilometre Zero, released on the morning of Grand Tour stages, Service Course, with a focus on bike tech, and recent additions Explore and Life in the Peloton, which is a continuation of Pro Mitch Docker's original podcast. The Cycling Podcast also has a number of Friends of the Podcast specials, which are available as part of a subscription package starting from £15 per year. They have also released 2 books, A Journey Through the Cycling Year and the Grand Tour Diaries 2018-19. Home Roads is presented by journalist and television presenter Matt Barbette. Home Roads is a unique format where host Barbette rides the local training roads of the episode's featured guest, usually a pro or former pro cyclist, and conducts the interview during the ride. Each episode is about 30 to 40 minutes long. There isn't so much of a schedule for release of Home Road episodes, and they seem to be recorded in seasons and become available either in weekly releases or several episodes available at once. Team Ineos riders Luke Rowe and Geraint Thomas produce their light-hearted and easy-to-listen-to pod featuring other riders and friends from the sporting world. If you're not familiar with the creators, Luke Rowe is Team Ineos road captain for their stage races and their main man for classics like Paris-Roubaix. Geraint Thomas is a multiple Olympic medalist in the team pursuit and the 2018 Tour de France champion and runner-up in 2019. Releases are as and when their schedules allow them to record and edit episodes, so they are well worth subscribing to so you don't miss one. Vox Women's podcast solely focuses on women's cycling. Part of the Vox Women's cycling media platform, their website is home to videos, blogs, and a well-stocked online store full of essential cycling kit and accessories, along with the podcast. The team at Vox Women is usually headed by sports presenter Laura Winter, but has a number of contributors keeping the content fresh and engaging whilst retaining the image and feel of a top distributor of women's cycling news and content. Finding Space is different to the previous podcast and much more personal to each of the cycling guests on the programme. Finding Space is presented by Kenza Barton-Schlee, a sports photographer. By looking at the Finding Space website, it's easy to see their artistic talent on display, as, in my opinion, it's the most beautiful and eye-drawing of all the podcasts featured on this list that have their own home sites. But we're here to talk about the podcast. Each episode features a cyclist and a discussion on how mental health affects their life, both inside and outside of the sport. It's a simple but important conversation, and Schlee lets the guests take the conversation where they want to. This podcast is deeper than the previous entries, but it's still entertaining, but informative too. With Dan Bigham's, Eleanor Barker and Abby May Parkinson's episodes are particularly highlights of mine in this pod's back catalogue. So that was my 5 recommendations of cycling podcasts. Please let me know which are yours, because I'm always on the lookout for new podcasts. I know I've probably missed out a couple of really top-rated ones, but if you have any personal favourites, let us know in the comments down below. But before you finish up here on YouTube, check out these 2 videos on screen now. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe orb and the bell to be notified of when our future videos go live. Yeah.